Hello all, it's James Johnson, aka Sulphur Blade, and I'm here with a video of what I consider significant importance. So, if you've been following my videos, you know I've been covering the election process, the election stealing process, etc. And right now, we're getting to the point where there's some pretty important things that are going down. One of the most important is the Georgia runoff race. Now, while I respect some particular lawyers, Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell, for bringing attention to the Dominion voting system issues. For those of you that don't know, there's been a lot of quote-unquote rabbit hole Dominion voting conspiracy theories floating around that kind of discredit the good work that Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood have done in this particular field. Now, if we want to cut down to the details without it being conspiracy theory-esque, we can cut down to the simple details that if you compare the Dominion voting system with the other major voting systems that were used in the United States election this year, that there is a massive difference between Dominion voting systems and the other voting systems in regards to the percentage of votes for Biden and the percentage of votes not for Biden. So while you may or may not be aware, there have been several lawsuits speculating to some fairly important revelations regarding Dominion voting systems, and that is its link to a company known as Smartmatic, which was used to create voting systems for Hugo Chavez in Venezuela so he could win the election in perpetuity. That's fact. Other facts is that Dominion voting system can be directly traced back to Smartmatic through acquisition, sales, rebranding, and renaming if you follow the money trail. You could do a lot of things with companies, but sadly there's always a money trail. And so Dominion voting systems is technically not the same company. It has a money trail that at least makes it a close cousin. Meaning money has traveled hands, company has been sold, renamed, sold again, renamed, but the money tracks all the way along to Dominion voting systems. Why is this important? Well, it may or may not be. It's one of those, it's the same company, so they're probably cheating just like they did for Hugo Chavez. There's no way to actually prove that. There's no way to prove that Dominion voting systems is, well, I shouldn't say there's no way to prove such a claim. I should say that it's an unproven claim that Dominion voting systems is the same cheating bastards that Smartmatic was back in the Venezuelan days. For all we know, the rebranding to Dominion voting systems and the coincidental money trail is a company trying to separate itself from Hugo Chavez, trying to separate itself from its black-eyed history, and they want a fresh start. They want to do good work. That could be. That very well could be. But the fact is that in the United States, in the elections this year, there are some serious discrepancies that are hard to explain. And that is that the other major voting systems used in the United States this year do not have such an apparent mismatch of voting percentages going to Biden over Trump. Now, why is that? Were Dominion voting systems mainly used in blue states? And that's why Dominion voting systems tended to get a higher Biden turnout? No, that's not actually true. Dominion voting systems were not used... how do I put this? Were not used primarily in blue states. In fact, if one would look at Dominion voting systems, they happen to have been used uniquely in the swing states. So you can't bring up a lot of states where Dominion was used that wasn't a swing state where things aren't being contested vehemently. In fact, Texas said, we're not even going to have Dominion voting systems in our state. We don't trust them. But you can take that however you want to. However, there are some key things that we need to realize, and that is that there is a serious voting discrepancy between Dominion voting systems and non-Dominion voting systems. That needs... it's just something that needs to be figured out. Why do the 2 or 3 other major voting systems used in the presidential election have a much more... what's the word I'm looking for? Similar results as the results we see in non-contested states, percentage-wise, in percentage of votes to Trump and to Biden. There are some very interesting things that have happened in this election. Joe Biden has received more votes than any president in history. Yet Joe Biden got less votes than Barack Obama in California. Joe Biden got less votes than Hillary Clinton in California. Barack Obama, by and large, in all of the blue states, got less votes than Obama and Clinton. Well, how did he get 80 million votes if he got less votes than Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton in the blue states? Did he get more votes in the red states? No, that's not true either. He underperformed in red states too. He just magically overperformed to an astronomical number in the swing states. Mainly in 5 cities in the swing states. And those cities are, in no particular order, Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Las Vegas. Record numbers of votes in Milwaukee. In fact, possibly more voters voted in Milwaukee than there are registered voters. That's not possibly. There was more voters that voted in Milwaukee than there are registered voters. Detroit, a dying city, was dying no longer. It had record voting in Detroit this year. Atlanta, well, the home of the famous pipe bursting, and everyone being sent home, and the majority of votes being counted in secret. But, I digress. All of these states have issues. Milwaukee has the 169,000 votes by absentee ballot by people who were supposedly indefinitely confined, which is something like 165,000 more than the last election. You know, and COVID, according to the Wisconsin court, is not a reason for indefinite confinement. But hey, those votes are fine. Nothing to see here. Anyway, we know that there is a serious problem with this election. However, there is a serious problem with Mr. Linwood's advice in the state of Georgia. And maybe I took far too long getting to the meat of this particular video, and that is that rolling over and playing dead and giving up and not going to vote for the senators in Georgia is about the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. If you follow Mr. Linwood's advice, which I highly advise you not to, we are Republicans. Republicans don't give up when things get tough. Republicans are not quitters. Just because they're cheating doesn't mean you stop playing the game. Learn to adapt. Learn to overcome. I'm not telling you to go out and cheat, but, you know, hypothetically, if you were in a contest where you know somebody's cheating, well, maybe you figure out how to cheat better than they do. But you don't quit. You don't give up. You go out and you kick some ass, or you at least go out swinging. So for those of you thinking it's a good idea to take the advice of Lynn Wood and not to fucking vote in Georgia, don't. For the love of God, don't. Those 2 senatorial election seats are the wall. Literally the wall. Those 2 seats are the separation between Democrats getting their unholy wish list of packing the court, creating new states, getting rid of the filibuster, and changing the United States as a whole into something you've never seen before, to that not happening. So for the love of God, don't give up. Fight. Fight harder. Cheat better. I don't know. I'm not saying to go cheat. I'm saying to go vote ultimately. That is my message to you in Georgia. For the love of God, go vote and keep those seats Republican. Overwhelmingly, they should be Republican. The numbers are with us. If we look at the reason that there's a runoff, I don't know if you guys understand how the Georgia process works, but a senator needs to get 50% or more of the vote, and one of the 2 senators was very close. The other senator wasn't very close, which is Loeffler, because she had a serious Republican. Doug Collins was running against her. He has a fair amount of name recognition. He pulled away a huge amount of votes from Kelly. But between Doug Collins and Kelly Loeffler's combined vote total, they would have destroyed the next closest Democratic contender for that particular ticket. On the other side of things, Perdue was well ahead of his Democratic rival. But again, there were so many other people running in that particular race that it siphoned off the votes so that he got to something like 49.7%. He was just a frog hair away from getting the 50% and being able to avoid the runoff completely. But sadly, he has to do the runoff process anyway. And so the runoff process is between the 2 highest grossing people. So Loeffler is, well, the 2 highest grossing of different parties. which is actually strange, because it would be interesting if you could have a runoff between two Republicans, because honestly, I think Doug Collins might have gotten more votes than the Democratic contender. But that's I won't even go into that. Anyway, just based off of the last election, Loeffler and Perdue should win easily, according to the numbers. So make it apparent that they've cheated. Go out and vote, and make them have to cheat. Don't give them a free pass. Make them have to cheat every single time. Always go vote. You don't give up. You don't surrender. That's what I have to say about that. Now on a different topic. If, for the love of God, you know who, the one who we shall not name, the old, crotchety, doesn't have any idea where he is half the time, and who has evidently broken his leg playing with his dog, we understand he did not win this election legitly, and he is not our president. So, if the reality is, come January 20th, that he somehow gets sworn in as the next president of the United States, I implore every one of you that watches this video to do your civic duty and recognize that he is not your president. Now, I'm not telling you to violate any laws. I would never do so. But there certainly has to be ways to civically and peacefully protest such a thing. I wouldn't tell you any of these ways that you could do this, but be it to say that our country was founded on a particular notion. Back when we dumped tea into Boston Harbor, we had a motto. And I think that motto is very true today. So, again, I would never actually tell anyone to violate a law, to do anything illegal. But should the impossible happen, and you know who becomes president on January 20th, we should all figure out ways to responsibly do our duty as patriots and take part in peaceful civil disobedience in ways that don't involve burning someone's business down, or don't involve hitting some old man over the head with a skateboard, or don't involve any of the tactics that despicable Democrats and leftists and idiots that we detest do. Don't lower yourself to their standard. Don't cave in someone's skull with a skateboard so that they die in some miserable, long, painful death. I mean, if you're going to resort to that type of violent nature, at least make it quick and painless. But again, I am not advocating violence. I am not advocating any type of illegal activity. I leave that up to you, the capable viewer, of being able to make a decision for his own self. Anyway, I am James Johnson, and for the love of God, get out there and vote in Georgia. And that's my video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all, peace.